All right, excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, parents, welcome to this interesting session. My name is Guru Nadkani, and I'm going to be with you for the next 45 minutes to 1 hour, taking you through an interesting presentation which is very close to my heart. It's called Fantastic Five. Now you will discover why I named that session as Fantastic Five, because it is going to talk about the powerful 5 years of the child's life. Okay, so before I continue with my presentation, I want to make a small request to all of you. And the request is, during the course of my presentation, if you have any questions or doubts, please don't interrupt. What you can do is you can type your questions in the comments box, and my colleague who is the co-host, Geeta, is going to take your questions. And at the end of the session, I will keep last 10 minutes for question and answer session. And I guess that would be more appropriate than getting distracted or digressed. So once again, a very warm welcome to all of you. And before I make a beginning of my presentation, I want to start this presentation by doing an interesting exercise. You see, I have an interesting book with me, and I call this book as a magic book. I believe every parent is a magician by himself or herself. They have certain magical powers, and that is getting reflected through this interesting book. Now, you will be able to relate to this very well the moment you see the magic that unfolds in front of you. Okay, so here we go. See, every child is born with an empty mind, or it's like a blank slate or blank paper. So when the child is born, the child's mind is something like this. Just watch out here. So it's all blank paper, nothing inside. Okay, can you see it here? You see on your screen, it all looks blank. Now it doesn't stop there. What happens is the child starts growing. The parents come in their lives. They start giving them love, affection, nurturing, care. And the mother starts drawing faint pictures in their mind. Okay, they draw rough sketches. And what happens is it looks something like this. Watch out on your screen. So it looks like this. See here. There are these rough sketches that you see here. Some pictures are drawn. So actually it is a magic, you see. So that magical powers are in the hands of the mother, in the hands of the father. So that's how the process goes on. But the process doesn't stop there. It continues. What happens is when the child starts growing further, when the child becomes 3 years of age, you send the child to a nursery or a play school or a preschool. And that's where another interesting person comes in their life, whom we call as the teacher. Okay, so when the teacher comes in the life of a child, what happens is in those faint sketches that you have drawn, the teachers come in their life and they start putting wonderful colors, the magical magenta or gorgeous green or beautiful blue or ravishing red. And what happens is those pictures look like this. Watch on your screens. See? So actually it is a magic, you see? And I believe every parent has that magical power. Now, everybody wants to see their child becoming successful in life. But there are certain challenges that we all face while raising our children, because you see, someone rightly said, most of us become parents accidentally. And then we have this gift given by God and we start raising our children without having got any formal training. You see, in our life, we get formally trained for many professions, many jobs. We take 20 years, 22 years to get our degree or master's. But to become a parent, there is no formal training given to us. It's just about experimenting and experiencing the raising of a child that we go through. So in my presentation today, I'm going to share with you some of the challenges and opportunities in those fantastic 5 years. And that's why I named the session as the Fantastic Five. So let me share my presentation with you. Uh, just give me a second. Yes. I guess you all can see my screen. Geeta, is the screen visible? Geeta, are you there? Is my screen visible? Okay, great. So the session which I'm going to take you through is called Fantastic Five, that talks about the powerful 5 years in the life of every child. Now you see, right now we are going through a situation which is unprecedented. We have never seen this before, the impact of COVID-19. And every parent is going through this. Every person in the world is going through this challenge. And some of the things that we are experiencing as parents are, number one, children are at home 24 hours because we don't send them out because of risk involved. The next thing is overexposure to screen time because they don't go out to play. So throughout the day, they are at home. So either they are with television or mobile phones or their iPads. So there is excess screen time that they're getting exposed to. The next one is lack of exposure to social skills. Because of the risk involved, we don't allow them to go out and mix with other people because you're scared of infection. So that is another challenge that we are facing. The next one, there is not much of physical activity happening because they don't go outdoors to play. So most of the parents are keeping their children at home 24 hours, and that's a big challenge now. And other thing that is worrying is parents are concerned about child's learning. Because you see, last 4 or 5 months, we are facing this pandemic, and we don't know how long it is going to continue. I'm told in Bangalore, there is a lockdown for another week. So it might get extended also. But this is the story all over the world. So parents are really concerned about child's learning. So I'm going to talk to you about which are the possible options to deal with challenges before I actually start my presentation on Fantastic Five. So during this time of Corona crisis, the possible option that we have are, number one, spend quality time with children. It is not important how much time we spend. What is important is how we spend the time with the child. You may be with the child maybe 16 hours a day, but what you are doing in those 16 hours is what is important. So you may spend even half an hour, but if that half an hour is with quality, where the child ends up learning something, that is going to be more important than spending the 16 hours or 18 hours with your child. The next one is learn teaching techniques, because I believe mother or the father are the most important teachers in the life of child. They come much earlier than the teachers who come in their lives at the age of 3 and 3.5. So it's about time that you as a mother or father take initiative and learn certain teaching techniques. You have so many courses available online. There are many platforms like Udemy or Coursera. Go online and learn certain teaching methods. And it's not a rocket science, because the teachers who actually teach the child, they also have learned those techniques. That what may make them, effective communicators or effective teachers. The next point here is get children involved with physical activities. And I don't have to tell you more on this, because the more they're active, the more good things will happen for their brain development. Next is let children pick a new skill. It could be drawing, coloring, singing, learning music. Spend time on that, so that during this time of quarantine, let them pick up certain skills, because the skills are going to be used in the rest of their lives. Introduce your child to storytelling, and that's one of the most powerful skills anyone can give to their children. You see, storytelling is an art, and you have to introduce that to a child. You see, many people ignore the power of storytelling, which I'm going to talk about a little later in my presentation, because everybody has to be a storyteller. You see, if you look at our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, why the world appreciates him? Because he's a great storyteller. That's why he's the most sought after person in the world. Even if somebody goes for an interview in a big company, you have to be a storyteller about your profile, what you are capable of doing or what you are capable of delivering. So that's what makes you sellable in the market. You've got to be a salesperson, and that's where storytelling comes very handy. So storytelling is one of the important skills that you can introduce to your child. The next one, look at this option, because world over, looking at the current situation, many parents are looking at homeschooling as an option, because we never know, we don't even know when this situation is going to subside or become better. We hope for the best, but it could take another 3 months, it could take another 6 months, we don't know. So when we are dealing with uncertainties, one of the interesting options that comes in front of our mind is looking at homeschooling as an option, where you find platforms available online. There are many companies which are introducing that of home learning or homeschooling to introduce child to a structured curriculum. So that could be an option which you will look at. So these are the few things which I have put together to tell you, because we are looking for something which is called as success. We all want our children to be successful, don't we? And you will notice here in this word successful, the letter U is having a different color. Why this is different color, you will come to know during the end of my presentation. We all aspire to see our children becoming successful. But the question that comes in our mind or in front of everyone here is, whose responsibility is it anyway? We all want our children to be successful. Nobody says it's okay if my child grows up as an average individual. Everybody wants the child to be a topper. Everybody wants the child to be an all-rounder. Everyone wants the child to be, the most sought after child or a celebrity. But you see, for everything that we expect, there is a price that needs to be paid. So the question that we all need to answer is, whose responsibility is it anyway? Now, I have got an interesting poem to start my presentation with. It's a very humorous and interesting poem. Some of you, would end up laughing, but in that there is a hidden message which is so powerful. Okay, so be with me. I'm going to take you through this interesting poem to begin with my presentation. The title of the poem is Point of View, and it's very interesting. Listen to this carefully. See, when the student goes to college after having passed the 10th standard, okay, 11th grade, the college professor says, such rawness in pupil is a shame. Lack of preparation in high school is to be blamed. So the college professor is blaming the high school teacher for having sent the child without being prepared properly. The professor says the student doesn't know anything. What kind of a training was given by the high school teacher? But the story doesn't stop there. It continues. The high school teacher says, good heavens, such crudity. The boy is a fool. The fault, of course, is the middle school. So the high school teacher is passing the buck and he says, it is not my problem. The student was passed on to me by the middle school teacher without having prepared properly. So what can I do about that? So the high school teacher is blaming the middle school teacher, and the middle school teacher says, from such stupidity may I be spared. They sent them to me so unprepared. So the middle school teacher is blaming the primary teacher, and the primary teacher says, kindergarten blockheads, you call that preparation? Worse than none at all. So the primary teacher is blaming the kindergarten teacher. He says the child is not properly trained or grown. And the kindergarten teacher says, such a lack of training never did I see. What kind of a mother that mother must be? You see, the kindergarten teacher is ready with the answer. She's passing the buck and points the finger towards the mother. But you see, the story doesn't end there. The mother has the final word. And sorry fathers, you got to take it. If any father is on the platform today, you got to take this response, because the mother has the final word. The mother says, poor helpless child, he is not to be blamed. His father's people are all the same. You see? But that's the situation. The mother, who is supposed to be a Janani, the creator, is also not ready to take the responsibility. I'm not saying all mothers, but many of them. What they say is, it is not my problem. It is the genetic defect. The father is a nut, doesn't know anything. So it has come, wo khandani problem hai. It is not my fault. So if you look at the message that you get out of this poem, is what? It says, we want success, but we are not willing to take responsibility or ownership of getting success. So if you understand that each one has to have an interesting role to play in the life of a child, everything will be fantastic. If the mother plays the role, if the teacher plays the role, if the school plays the role, it's a joint partnership, you see. If we all work together as partners in this excellence, in the success, game, you will find that children will never have a problem. There will be difficulties, but we can easily overcome if we work together as a team. So that's what this poem point of view talks about. Now let's continue with the presentation. I was talking to you about this, the title of this presentation, Fantastic Five. Now, you will discover today why the first 5 years are extremely important. And we realize the importance of the first 5 years when the child becomes 15 years of age. Then we start saying, I wish I had done something when my child was young. But unfortunately, you can't get back the early 5 years. Bygones are bygones. You can't get them back, right? So let's look at why I call it Fantastic Five. The first thing is, let's look at the physical development of a child. At birth, if you look at the adult brain as 100% growth, by birth, the brain development is 25%. Okay, and as the child starts growing, when the child becomes 3 years of age, it is more than three times, it is 80%. At that rapid pace, the growth takes place. And what do we say? Mera bachcha abhi 3 saal ka hai, bahut time hai. Okay, so we just ignore the power of the early years. And by age 5, it is 90%, which means 90% of the adult brain is already formed by age 5, and only 10% growth takes place between 5 and 18. You see, and that's why it is important for us to take advantage of first 5 years. I'm not saying in the first 5 years you should send the child to college or make them learn, trigonometry and calculus and Einstein's theory of relativity. No way. What I'm saying is there are many things we as parents can do with the child to tap those potential years, because children are gifted with billions of brain cells, which we call as neurons. And those neurons are connected through what we call as synapses, the connections that are formed between the brain cells. And those connections become stronger by exposure, by repeated use, by experience, by developing, by repeatedly using. The more you use brain cells, the more stronger they become. But unfortunately, most of the time, we don't take the advantage of first 5 years. And we realize that when the child grows up. Now, this is about the physical development of a child. Let's look at the next part, the intellectual development, learning ability. By the time the child grows to become 5 years of age, 50% intellectual development is already there compared to adult. And by age 8, it is 80%. And what do we say? My child is too young. So now it's about time to wake up. Spend as much quality time with your child as possible and use it, because if you don't use it, what you do? You lose it. The option is with you. There are preschools, there are schools, there are universities, but they cannot do what a parent can do with the child, because the student, when they goes to college, they don't get the facilities that they get in the first 10 years or first 8 years. And that is why it is extremely important that we capitalize or we take advantage of first 5 years and first 8 years to see that they get exposure to things which will help them to perform better. They become successful. They don't have to face stress. Today, many children are facing stress at a very young age. Why? Because they don't know how to handle failure. They are actually being forced to become successful. Now, the question that needs to be answered is, do you want your child to be successful only, or you want your child to be happy also? In the name of success, what do? We force them to do some certain things which they are not interested in. You pick up a paper every other day, you will find some child committing suicide in some engineering college or IIT or in some software company. Not because they're not qualified people, but because they can't handle. If our education system is not equipped to help our children to handle failure, then what's important with that? And that's why your role as a mother, as a father, plays a very, very important role. And you can take care of that in the first 10 years, where you can help them to develop skills, you can help them develop habits, you can prepare them to handle emotions, handling stress, because stress is something which is killing a human resource. And then we go to psychiatrists or psychologists to handle that. And that is why it is important that we take care of the first formative years. Now, how do we take advantage of Fantastic Five? Okay, so I'm going to give you a few interesting examples, and let me explain this to you, that I'm not a psychologist, so I won't be going to get into technical aspects because I'm not a trained psychologist. But what I'm going to share with you is through research, through my experience, because I have been working in this area for more than 25 years. Okay, I've been working with parents, I've been working with children, I've been working with teachers. I've done many sessions in schools all around India and outside India as well. So what I'm going to share with you is my experience and the study that I have done. Okay, so many of the points would be useful for you. Then you also have to take it forward and get information from internet or discussing with your people whom you know who handle children's issues. So the first thing that we should be looking at is introduction to early reading. Now, one of the things that the child is going away from is reading habit. And ultimately, we end up blaming children that my child is not reading. Now, the question that comes here is, when do we start introducing our children to reading? My answer is from early childhood, maybe when the child is 8 months old or 1 year old. The earlier, the better. Now, you may laugh at me and say, what an 8 months old child or 1 year old child would know about reading? What will the child understand? Now, my question to you is, the question is, when did you start talking to your child? And most of you would say, I started talking to the child from the time the baby was born. In fact, many mothers speak to the child when the baby is in the womb. We all talk about the story of Abhimanyu in Mahabharata, where we learned about Chakravyuha when he was in mother's womb. And we take pride in saying that. If that is possible, why not introduce the child to reading when the child is as young as 1 year old? I'm going to prove that to you by giving some examples. Why it is important to read to a child when the child is 1 year, 1.5 years, as early as possible. Although they may not be understanding the alphabet or the words or sentences, they may not understand those things. But it is important to connect them with those sentences, those words. Let me give an example to you to prove my point. Now, on your screen, you find these pictures, right? You find a packet of Lay's, then there is Cadbury Dairy Milk, Kurkure, and Kit Kat. You look at any child which is 2 years or 2.5 years of age, and you ask, Then, can you tell me what is it on the left-hand side? It won't be a surprise. A child which is 2 years, 2.5-year-old say that's Lay's, that's Cadbury. They can't even pronounce Cadbury. They say Cadbury. They cannot pronounce the sound of R. They say Kulkule or Kurkure. And Kit Kat. You take them to a mall or a supermarket. They point the finger towards that particular package and say, Mummy, I want Kulkule. I want Cadbury. How does it happen? Do they read spellings? Do they understand the cursive handwriting, the logo of Cadbury? They don't. But how do they understand those words? It's because that is called as sight reading. They take the spelling as a picture. If you keep a bottle of Pepsi, Thumbs Up, Coke, and Mirinda or whatever, and if you ask the child to pick up any bottle, because you say, pick up a bottle of Coke, the child will pick up the right bottle, whether it is Coke or Pepsi. And you will be taking pride in saying, Dekho, mera bacha kitna smart hai. See, my child is so smart. He's picking the right bottle. It is not only your child, every child does it. Because there is so much of bombardment of those ads on the television, constantly getting exposed to the children, you see. A repeated exposure to those ads on the television makes them identify the logo not as a spelling, but as a picture. That's the power of reading in the early childhood. So when you start reading to a child by taking a book in the hand and make the child sit on your lap and start reading by pointing fingers to those words, because you are connecting that word with the child's sight, and they start learning about sight reading. And within a short span of time, you will start getting surprised. The child has started identifying words without your knowledge. They don't even know the spellings. That's why some people use a technique of flashcards, where words and pictures are put together. So that's called sight reading. So this is one reason. Now I have got another interesting example to show you, which I do in my sessions. Try this exercise. I won't be able to take you to go through this. Now, if you look at this, there is a script on your screen. Okay. Now, if you look at this script carefully, I'm going to give you half a minute. You try reading that script. Okay. The words are jumbled up. They're all misspelled. There are wrong spellings. And try reading it out. Now, if you want me to read it out, I'll read for you. They're not properly structured. They're all misspelled, but see how effectively I can read. It says, the phenomenal power of the human mind. I couldn't believe that I could actually understand what I was reading about the phenomenal power of the human mind. According to a research at Cambridge University, it doesn't matter in what order the letters in a word are. The only important thing is that the first and the last letter be in the right place. The rest can be a total mess. And you can still read it without a problem. This is because the human mind does not read every letter by itself, but the word as a whole. Amazing, right? Now look at this. See, I'm able to read it effortlessly, although all the words are jumbled up. They're misspelled. Now, how does it happen? And as I said, the mind as a whole doesn't take every single letter. It takes the whole word as an image. Once it is stored in your memory. That's why when you start reading, you read effortlessly. You don't take time to read because it's already programmed in your mind. And that is why if you want your child to start reading well, you must introduce the child to reading at a younger age. Start from today if you haven't started yet. And come back to me after a couple of months. You will be a proud parent to say, yes, I started it and my child has started picking words. My child has started learning to form sentences. The child's vocabulary has started building up. It's going to be an amazing experience. That's why I say parenting is a wonderful exercise if you start, taking advantage of it and be a part of this journey. That's where the fun lies. Most of the time, what we see, especially when that you find working mothers, you find a child spending time with the maid servant, and the child picks up everything that the child offers. And that's why I understand. You see, parents have to work. The mother also are working because of the financial commitments and things like that. But what I suggest is, whenever you're back home, spend those quality moments, half an hour, 45 minutes, and you will see magical experience. And that's why I say Fantastic Five. You must take the advantage of Fantastic Five. Let's move on. See, there are a few things that a child needs to be, introduced to, which I call them as key factors during childhood. Okay, we all are in search of cash, money, paisa. But here I'm going to use this acronym, which I pronounce as cash. It is not CASH, it is KASH, where each letter stands for something which is very, very important. The first thing which we all are aware of is knowledge. So what do? We send the child to a nursery or a play school or a preschool. Then the child goes to primary, middle school, high school, college, university, and so on to acquire knowledge. But along with knowledge, the child also needs other things. The next important thing is attitude. And attitude building starts from home. The value system, the kind of behavior the child is showing up, the way the child respects, the way the child shows compassion for fellow human beings or animals around them. It all starts from attitude. And where does attitude get formed? Not from the school. You find many young students show their attitude. They show they're snobbish. Wherever they go, they throw their weight around. I don't blame them. Why do they do that? Is because that's the way they are brought up. Whether you are humble, whether you are respectful, whether you are having humility, all that shows up on the parents. Because the way the child is brought up from the home environment, that is going to build the child's attitude. It cannot happen in school. You have that value education as a subject in school, but that's all theory. What you as a mother is doing at home is value education in action. Next, skills, extremely important. The future is going to be based on skill sets. It has already started. Many top companies are saying, we are not going to look at your degrees, whether you scored 95% marks or 90% marks or 85% marks. We don't care. What we need is how good you are in terms of skill sets. What kind of a skills do you carry with you? Your communication, your leadership, your interpersonal skills, your social skills, your emotional quotient. All those things are going to be put to test. And unfortunately, those things don't happen in formal education. And those things can be done at home in a subtle way, not by rigorous training. And children will pick those things up without any pressure. Children learn, a child can learn a foreign language effortlessly. How does it happen? I've seen many kids who are in Bangalore, speaking Kannada, speaking English, speaking Tamil. Although they don't come from Tamil background. How does it happen? It's all just because of exposure, by listening, by imitating. So children have that power to absorb things without having to push into. So take advantage of that, and it's fun. And the last but not the least important things, habits. Good habits or bad habits are formed in the childhood, and if you form them in the childhood, they're going to stay for long. One of the habits which I have come across with many kids is they don't brush in the night. They brush in the morning, that too with great difficulty, brushing the teeth. But you consult any dentist. In fact, my dentist keeps telling me that it is extremely important that the child or any adult brushes in the night. Okay, you brush in the morning, but that only helps you to freshen up. But what is most important is brushing in the night, because whatever you eat during the day is going to stay in your mouth for 12 hours, which becomes the breeding ground for bacteria. So children, having dental problems is one of the reasons they don't brush in the night. Why? Because many of parents are not brushing in the night. Well, that's a fact. They do brush in the morning, but if you want your children to do it, you start building that habit yourself and be a partner with your child. This is just one habit. I'm going to share a few more. Reading habit is one of them. You start picking up reading. How many of you as parents start reading or read every day? If a child sees you on the mobile phone, busy on Facebook or social media handles, how can you expect your child to spend time with books? Think about it. It's about time to introspect. I'm not against Facebook or Twitter or WhatsApp, but what I'm saying is, are you setting the right examples? Let's move on. I was talking to you about skills. Why are skills important? One of the important things is skills actually help you to apply your knowledge. You might remember the famous phrase, it says knowledge is power. Very true. But I'll tell you, the new version, applied knowledge is power. If you have knowledge, but you don't know how to apply it, that knowledge can become powerless. So what helps you to apply knowledge? The skills. Now, if you look at the difference between ability and skill, many people don't know the difference between ability and skills. Just have a look at this. Ability is a physical or mental quality to do something, whereas skill is the ability to do an activity or job well. That's the difference. And I'm going to give some examples to you. Okay, watch on your screen. See, seeing is an ability. God has gifted us with 2 eyes, and we are able to see things around us. So seeing is an ability, whereas observation is a skill. See, in a classroom where there are 25, 30 children, very few children observe and they go ahead. The rest all only see, and that makes a difference. So observation skill needs to be developed. It doesn't happen by default. One more example, hearing. Hearing is an ability. Listening is a skill. Many times we hear, but we don't pay attention to that. So it is not going to get stored in the memory. But what you listen to is going to stay in your memory, because listening is an exercise with concentration, which requires efforts. So concentration is a skill. Listening is a skill. There are many such skills, but I've just given you 2 examples just to get connected with these 2 words, ability and skills. Now, let me take a few examples. Today, the buzzword is lateral thinking. People talk about lateral thinking as thinking out of the box. Everybody talks about thinking out of the box. Are we preparing our children for thinking out of the box, or just making them follow the routine? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an example. Okay, all those people who are live on Facebook, okay, listen to this and give your answers in your comment box. Listen to this, a very interesting exercise which I'm doing now to prove my point. What is lateral thinking? Okay, or thinking differently. So here we go. The story goes like this. It's a hypothetical situation. Okay, robbery at Salman Khan's house. Listen to this carefully. Salman Khan is lying on the bed. Okay, Salman Khan is lying on the bed. His eyes are open. He is able to see. He can see. His eyes are open. Suddenly, a few robbers come in his house and they start robbing everything around. They take away the iPads, the computers, the laptops, whatever expensive things that are lying in the room, they start robbing away. Salman Khan is able to see them that they are robbing, but he is not fighting with them. He is not raising an alarm. He is not, asking for help. What do you think could be a reason? And I want you to type the answers in the comment box. I'm going to give you 1 minute. There is no right or wrong answer. You have to think why Salman Khan is not fighting with the robbers or raising an alarm or asking for help when he's seeing that robbery is taking place. What could be the reason? Don't worry about right or wrong answer. What do you think? Which are the possible options? You can type in the comment section. Geeta, you'll have to take those comments, because I'm not able to see them live here because I'm on Zoom. This is getting live on Facebook. Geeta, are you there? I want people to answer those, and Geeta, you have to take those answers and give me an input. Which are the answers which are shared by these people? It could be anything. I mean, I told you there is nothing called right or wrong. I want to know what do you think could be a reason? Geeta, are you there? Geeta, are you able to hear me? Because I need to get some feedback. You see, I want to make it interactive. I'm not able to get the, 1 second, I need to check. Geeta, probably you'll have to help me out. Geeta, can you unmute yourself and give me an input? Because I'm not able to see on my screen. Because I need those inputs to be able to continue, from here. Hello? I'm not able to see those answers on my screen. I don't know what happened here. Yeah. Okay. So what you can do is you can WhatsApp those answers that you give. There is some glitch here. I'm not able to get the answers on screen. Okay, I'm able to see now. Okay. Some people have said maybe robbers are armed. He is not conscious. It's a film shoot. Okay, they're interesting answers, you see. Some of you might say that because some of the answers that I got in my previous sessions are quite funny. Somebody said they are Salman Khan think that his house is insured, so he's not worried. So like this, there will be many answers that one can think about, which are called logical answers. Now, there is one possibility here also, which I'm going to share with you. The answer is quite funny, but the answer is Salman Khan is a 6-month-old baby. And you will just laugh it away. It is a possibility, you see. I didn't say that it is Salman Khan, the film star. I just said there is a robbery at Salman Khan's house. Now, Salman Khan could be a small infant. It could be some other Salman Khan. But the moment we talk about Salman Khan, what happens in front of our mind? The image of a film star comes in. That is called as linear thinking. We as human beings get programmed in our life to think linear. We don't think laterally. And that is extremely important. Look at which are the possible options available. Think out of the box. Sometimes they may not be logical, but it is important that we help our children to start thinking differently. Don't put your ideas on your child. The way you think may not be the same the way your child thinks. And you should encourage. You can't say, no, aisa hi karna hai. Yahi sahi hai. I'll give a simple example to you in mathematics. If I ask you to multiply 78 into 49, you will start multiplying from right to left, isn't it? That's the way we are trained. Units, 10, 100, and so on. Now, if I ask you, can you multiply from left to right? You will say, not possible. But believe me, it's possible. That's another way. And yet much faster than right to left. But why do we say it's not possible? Because nobody has even shown us. That is why it is important. Start finding out which are the different ways the child can learn, not just the same way which the child gets trained in school or the education system. But that's what is important for future, thinking laterally or thinking creatively. So let me check how much time I have left. I need to rush it through. I'm sure you find it interesting. I'll just give this example to you just to make it sort of fun, so that you start understanding. See, we also start thinking linear whenever a question is asked, because that's the way we are programmed. So it's about time that we break those barriers and we come out and start thinking laterally. Okay, let's move on. Here is another example. If you have a child which is a 3-year-old, okay, and you show them this picture and ask them, what is it? If there are, say, 25 children or 28 children, if you show these images to them, okay, you will find out of 25 children, maybe 22 or 23 children saying, that's a car and that's a dog. Right answers, isn't it? But the interesting thing would be, you will find 2 or 3 children who will say, that's Toyota Corolla and that's Doberman. That's the difference. The child who says it's a car and it's a dog is the right answer. I'm not denying that. But a child who is able to say it's not just a car, not just a dog, that's a Toyota Corolla car and that's Doberman, the breed of the car, dog. That's a difference, you know. The child is able to concentrate, the child is watching what kind of a breed is that? What kind of a car logo is that? Whether it is Mercedes or BMW or Chevrolet or Toyota. That shows the exposure, the ideas the child has picked up. And that all comes from home. The more you get your child exposed to, the child will be better equipped. And that's where your role as a mother or father, takes a prime place. Here's another example. Now, There is a picture in front of you on your screen. I have asked this question to many people, you know, what is that image that you see? 95% of the people say, that's a crocodile. Okay, I'm going to show you another picture. Maximum people say that's a deer, which is not right. Okay, but it looks like deer. The right answer is it's an antelope and it's alligator. They look similar. Look, alligator also looks like crocodile. But what's the difference between alligator and crocodile? Not many people know. Educated people also don't know, I'm telling you. And then we pass it on to our children. Can you imagine in a classroom of 25 to 30 children, if this image is shown on the screen, out of 25, only your child stands up and says, ma'am, that's an alligator. I'm 100% sure. Ma'am, that's an antelope. Where all of the kids are saying, that's a crocodile and that's a deer. What would happen to your child? The kind of confidence that the child will grow up with. The kind of feeling that the teacher would get about your child. About his, his personality, about his knowledge, about the way he's been brought up at home. It will tell volumes. And it doesn't happen without anything. It doesn't happen by default. And that's where your role as a mother or as a father, plays a very, very important thing. Now, the reason why I'm showing this to you is because you ask, that's the way the child is getting introduced to. Okay, you ask any child, what is A for? Almost everyone says A for apple. Now, I'm not against apple, by the way. A is also for apple. But have you come across children who say A for antelope or A for alligator? You will not find many. But A for apple, everybody says, because that's the way we are all the time, reinforcing. But what I'm saying is A also is for apple, A also is for antelope. B is for butterfly, but B also is for Bengaluru. Why not? How many of us train our children to say B for Bengaluru? Sometimes the child's name starts with that letter, A for Arun, or Amita, or Ankita. How many kids who are 2 years, 2.5-year-old, or 3-year-old is able to say that? Not many. I'm not saying everybody doesn't say that, but most of the people, most of the kids don't even know that they can say that name which stands for a particular alphabet. The state that they live in. K could be for kite, K could be also for Karnataka. Okay. I could be for ink, I could be for igloo, I could be for India. Why not? And those things happen not by default, but by introducing, by exposure. A beautiful example I have with me to share with you. I'm going to play a couple of audios, and this music has come my way, and I feel so excited, and I want to share this with you. When you are introducing children to nursery rhymes, I'm sure this nursery rhyme is quite common. Okay, let me share it. Share the screen one more time. 1 minute. Okay. Just listen to this audio.
Baba Black Sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. 1 for the master, 1 for the day, 1 for the little boy who lives down the lane. Baba Black Sheep, have you any wool?
Now you see, this is a very common thing that we come across, we teach our children. The famous tune, Baba Black Sheep, have you any wool? Okay. Now I'm going to play another audio and see, can you make a child learn the same song differently? That's what I mean by lateral thinking. See, you are teaching your child a rhyme in a particular tune. You also learn the same way in your childhood. Probably our parents also learn the same way. Can we change the tune? Just give it a thought, because I came across one tune which is so beautiful. Just have a look at this.
Baba black sheep, have you any wool? Baba black sheep, have you any wool? Yes sir, 3 bags full. Yes sir, 3 bags full. One for my master and one for the dame. One for my master and one for the dame. One for the little boy who lives down the lane. One for the little boy who lives down the lane.
Now, isn't that beautiful? Someone has taken this, I don't know who has done it, but I just fell in love with that tune, It's just some folk song kind of a tune. So somebody has picked up that song, Baba Black Sheep, and converted that into a folk song. It takes few minutes to do it if you have interest in that. So what I would suggest you as mothers and fathers is pick up any nursery rhyme. Children are so fast in picking up songs. Pick up any Kannada song or Hindi song or any movie song. See whether you can tune those songs with those particular movie tunes. It could be a bhajan, it could be a devotional song, it could be a ghazal, and that is what is required. The same tune, from ages we are singing, which was introduced by the Britishers. We are continuing with that. Why not become innovative? And we need to encourage our children to get into this, because ultimately innovation is what it takes to become successful in life. Think about it, because I thought I must share this idea with you, because this is a time when children can pick up without being taught. Because in the childhood, things are not taught, they are caught. Children get interested, they catch the things without any pressure, without any coaxing. They will just pick it up. It all depends on you. And that's why I would suggest you as parents think about what new idea that you can think about. I've just given you one example. It's up to you. Let's move on. Something very interesting to share. Children retain 20% of what they read, 30% of what they hear, 40% of what they speak, 80% of what they do, learning by doing, but 100% of what they sing. And I don't have to prove it to you. See, if I ask you to recite some poetry, many of you who are English graduates, or BCom, BA, we have learned poetry in our school days. How many of us remember those poetries of Wordsworth and John Keats? We all have forgotten. But the rhymes that we learned in our childhood, we are able to recite without any problem. Our national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. I don't sing it every day or recite every day, but if somebody asks me to recite it, I will just stand up and recite effortlessly. It's because we have sung that in our childhood over and over and over again every day in school. That has registered here. That's why we say children retain 100% of what they sing. So introduce them to singing. Any difficult thing if they want to retain, create that into a song. And I have an example to share with you. You see, if I ask you, how many states do we have in India? We'll say we have 28 states, and if I ask you to name them one by one, I'm sure most of us will have a problem in reaching to 28 figure. Okay, we might have, 15, 20, 25 like that, but accurately, all those, not easy. If you want to give it to a child, I will give you an interesting idea to you. I'm going to play one small audio and you'll enjoy that. Okay. How beautifully you can help your child remember all the names of the states in India. Hear this out.
भारत है मेरा देश, इसमें है अनेक प्रदेश, राज्यों की कर ले बात इस गाने के साथ। हरियाणा, गुजरात, मणिपुर, केरला, अरुणाचल प्रदेश, आंध्र प्रदेश, असम, हिमाचल प्रदेश, बिहार, गोवा, नागालैंड, मिजोरम, त्रिपुरा, ओडिशा, झारखंड, तेलंगाना, महाराष्ट्र, सिक्किम, छत्तीसगढ़, मध्य प्रदेश, तमिलनाडु, उत्तर प्रदेश, पंजाब, उत्तराखंड, राजस्थान, पश्चिम बंगाल, मेघालय, कर्नाटक। भारत है मेरा देश, इसमें है अनेक प्रदेश, राज्यों की कर ले बात इस गाने के साथ। सारे जहां से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा, हमारा सारे जहां से अच्छा।
Now, isn't that interesting? You see all the names of the states in India put together in one song. And I've just given this example to you. These ideas I'm sharing with you. You can create your own song. It is not necessary that you should pick one particular song. So if a child learns these tricks, what happens is they'll be masters. The name of the state. Suppose tomorrow you can create a song of all the districts in Karnataka. Or if you're staying in Maharashtra, all the names of districts in Maharashtra, or in Andhra Pradesh, or any place. So if the child says that in the classroom, what would happen to the child's confidence level? The teacher starts appreciating them. Their friend circle will start looking at the child differently. Wow, look at this child, so creative. And that's how the child starts growing up, with all the skills about self-esteem, confidence. Along with that, knowledge will come on the way. But these things don't come by default. So that's where we as parents can play this fantastic role of coach, guide, mentor in those first 8 years, because they have plenty of time, especially in the COVID-19 times. They have 24 hours at home to learn many new things. I've got just 5 minutes more to wind up. Let me go quickly because I know we started a bit late. The next problem that I won't be talking much on this, maybe we can do a different session later on. One of the challenges many people face is children spending a lot of time on TV screen, on iPads or mobiles. Let me tell you, children cannot be exposed, especially in the less than 2 years, according to American Association of Pediatrics. What they say is less than 2 years, they should not be exposed to TV or screen at all. No iPads, no TV for infants up to 2 years. Between 2 to 5, you can expose them for 1 year, 1 hour per day. Above 5, it could be around 2 hours per day. But today, what's happening? They are getting exposed to screen for 5 hours, 8 hours. And that's going to be a problem. Many parents, feed the child by giving iPad in their hand. That's called distraction feeding. It's going to be a great problem for the child in future. I'm going to quickly tell you the problems because it will take some time. Maybe in some other session, I'll be doing exclusive session on this in future, maybe. Let me highlight those things to you. What happens when the child eats in front of television or in front of a gadget? They start consuming more food than actually they require. And another problem that they face is they consume more unhealthy food. Look at your child whenever they are eating in front of television. Do they eat salads? Do they eat healthy food? Or do they eat pastries or chips or kurkure or all the junk food? And you'll find whenever they are watching Cartoon Network or anything on screen, they are with their junk food, unhealthy food, which leads to obesity and a lot of health related issue, which is going to put them into trouble when they grow up. Important thing that we are careful about are the developmental milestones. We all are looking at children's physical growth, you know, the child crawling, the child sitting, the child start walking. What is important is we also need to look at some more milestones, which happens in the childhood and which happens during the dinner time. Set a rule at home: when it is dinner time, no gadgets. Because what happens there is you actually stimulate 4 out of the 5 important senses when you are sitting with them. You know, we have those 5 senses: touch, smell, see, taste, and hear. But when you are having food together, these senses get stimulated: touch, the smell of the food, seeing and tasting it, which doesn't happen when the child is eating in front of television, because the focus is on television, not on eating. And along with this, few important things to share, important milestones which gets opened up in the dinner time: eating independently. Many children don't eat, they need feeding, you know, even till at a later stage. They need to start eating on their own. Developing interpersonal skills, because when you are sitting on a dining table together, there is communication that is happening. So interpersonal skills is something which you introduce to a child subtly without having to go formally. The next thing is developing new vocabulary when you are eating together. They pick up a food, discuss on that. You talk about communication between each other. Does it happen when the child watches TV? It's just one way. They are just eating and eating and eating, and they're watching on the screen. So there is no communication between the parents and the child at all. And finally, which is also equally important, is developing love and compassion, sharing with others, caring for others. You know, those things get introduced to a child when the child is in the early childhood. If you set certain ground rules, and for that, you also have to sacrifice. You look at your own house, you'll find every room will have a TV. Go on the net, you'll find one of the problems is most of the bedrooms have TV. So children, when they go to bed by watching TV. And it can create serious sleep disorders as they go along. Do a bit of research, you'll find there is a hormone called melatonin, which actually influences your sleep. It gets disturbed, and because of that, even if the child sleeps, they will not have complete sleep if they don't get enough quantity of that melatonin. Why I'm telling this to you is you need to put a control on the child's TV viewing, because right now they are with you 24 hours. Storytelling, an important skill. Spend time telling stories. I won't spend much time on this because time is already up. Maybe some of the time I'm going to skip this. Introduction of values at an early age, because children learn anything if they are introduced to. And you need not be always good to your child. What you need to be is you need to be good for your child. Okay? And last but not the least, it's about time to learn the spelling of the word love. You know, we all know spelling of the word love is L-O-V-E, but it's about time to learn a new spelling of love, and the new spelling is, it's time. We all have time, but make sure that you spend enough time with your child, which is quality time. If you understand the power of this quality time, most of your problems or challenges that you're going to face will be sorted out. And before I wind up, I want to end up by just summing up a few things which I covered today. The fantastic 5 that you can take away from this session: importance of reading, storytelling, lateral thinking, physical activities, and values. Okay, these things have to be introduced to a child in the first 5 years or maybe 8 years. In fact, each one we can do independent sessions. Each one is so important. In fact, one full session can be done not just about storytelling, but how you as a mother can introduce a storytelling to a child, how interesting it is. we can have an independent session. In fact, I want to see smart children holding a live session on Facebook, storytelling. Wouldn't that be great? I will be working on that, helping children to become great storytellers. Because we can tell stories, it is important. Children start telling stories. So these are the few things which I want to leave you with. And to end, last but not least, there are no U-turns in life. Either you do it or you don't do it. You can't say, I wish I had done it. Tough luck. And what I started with, if you want to see your child become successful, you have to understand this. Children can't spell success without you. Okay? And that's the reason if you're seeing the success spelling in the first line, the U was with a different color. That's not letter U, it is Y-O-U. If you want to see your child becoming successful, you have to understand that children can't become successful without you. If you understand this, I'm sure most of the challenges that we may come across in the process of raising your children will be taken care of. It's fun if you look at it as fun. So I'm sure you enjoyed the session, and I am ready for questions for next 5 minutes because we only run out of time, maximum 5 minutes, and then we sign off from here. So I'm ready to answer your questions. If you have any questions, please. Geeta, I want you to help me out with the questions. Yeah, there are a few questions here. Okay, let me look at this. In the current situation, we all have somehow learned to live a simpler life than before, compromise on a lot of things. I believe strongly that this is a good thing to happen. But when things will go back its own self, there is a pressure built up again. The demands increase, wants increase. How to handle it at this time? You see, this is an important question. We all are living in, what some people call it a rat race. Everybody is, living in a materialistic world where money plays an important role. You have to make ultimately a choice. We all live with choices. You want your child to be an IIT graduate who is unhappy, or you want him to be well educated, but he is successful and also happy. Because happiness doesn't come by qualification. It doesn't come by having money. See, there are some great examples which I can share with you. People, you know about a person like Harsha Bhogle. He is an IIM alumni from Ahmedabad. What does he do? He is a most sought after commentator on different channels for cricket commentary. Now tell me, does anybody have to go to IIM to become a commentator? Not really. What he did was he followed his passion. He is doing what he is good at. What he knows that's best for him. Look at Chetan Bhagat, again another example. I am alumni, a celebrity author. Ayushmann Khurrana, fantastic actor. Because these people have followed their passion. So important things are, we live in a world where there will be competition, there will be stresses, financial burdens, commitments, all those things are there. But what I'm saying is, you also have to be with the child in good times, difficult times. Don't put unnecessary pressure because your neighbor's child is doing extremely well. Doesn't mean that your child also has to do extremely well in studies. And I don't have to give you examples. Go and find out from the Google, you'll find some of the most successful people in the world were not good in academics, but they became successful human beings. And that's where, and you ask them, they will say, we thank our parents for who we are. Okay, some more questions there. How can I increase my daughter's vocabulary? And I've answered partially. introduce your child to reading early. I want to know what your child's age is. Okay, how to handle a single child. My daughter becomes stressed out that she has no kids to play. How to deal with it? See, right now in this situation, if you're not allowing your child to go out, then we are having limited options. So you have to be your child's friend. You have to be your child's mother. You have to be your child's guide. All the roles, multitasking you will have to do. Other option I can share with you is you can probably get a list of WhatsApp numbers of her peer group where they sign up on maybe on a Zoom chat or Zoom meeting where they go live together. Something like that. We need to find out what is the solution in the given situation, because we know in these difficult times we cannot take a risk of sending a child in somebody's house to play with. There is no guarantee. That's why we need to find out what is the best option available. And one of the options that I can talk about is creating a group chat in WhatsApp or on Zoom. Have meeting time once in a week where all the peer group come together, share about what they did this week, what new skill did they pick up. You can play Antakshari, or you can play some games which can be played remotely, because you can't get them involved with the physical activity together. Okay, so you need to find an alternative for that. Okay, as somebody asked, how can I increase my daughter's vocabulary? The best solution is start reading to your child. There are great readers available online, offline. Identify which are the age appropriate reading material available, but don't make a mistake of buying a book and giving it to a child. Most parents do that. When they buy the book, read now. That shouldn't be the way. The best thing is make the child sit on your lap, hold the book in your hand, and point the fingers. Once upon a time, there lived a king. Okay, create story time. Maybe I can do a different session on how to make your child a storyteller, because it takes time. You see, in 45 minutes or 1 hour, you cannot handle all the issues. In fact, I had a couple of interesting clippings on storytelling, but since the time is already up, I may not be able to do it now. But fantastic, ideas I can give you, which will be helpful for your child or yourself. Any more questions? Okay, so that's all for now. Thank you so much for being with me. And if you have any more questions, you can share your questions on the Facebook page of Little Ellie, and I will be able to come back to you with the answers, because there are many questions which I may not be having answers for, because I'm not a psychologist or an expert in that field. So, but I will definitely promise you that I can do some research and I'll come back to you with those answers, which will be of help to you. So thank you once again. Namaste, and have a great time with your kids. I'm sure your kids will grow up not only as successful kids, but most important, as happy children. And that's what you should be looking for. Thank you, and have a great Saturday. Thank you all.